We are now recording.
Perfect. So Stephanie, can we have the certification of quorum and the proof of notice, please?
Yes, I do certify. We've got 5 board members present, so we do have a quorum. And public notice of this meeting was posted at least 48 hours in advance in accordance with Florida Statute 720.
Perfect. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the past board minutes. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
I
Second?
second.
Any discussion by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that is passed. Next item on the agenda is the management report. So Stephanie, Debbie, John, I don't know who's going first, but it is your floor.
Thank you. Just a moment while I share my screen. Can everyone see the front of the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so this is our management report for today's board meeting of May 29th, 2025. We're going to start with our arrears and delinquency report. So this is reporting for the end of April. So at the end of April, the association was owed $126,000. And that's cumulative of 55 accounts. Over 90 days, we have 83,000, which is the 14 accounts that are currently at attorney. Last month, the association was owed 121,000, so we do have just a slight increase from last month. In April, we had 5 homes sell in the community, which is just 1 less than in March. We had 6 in March. I'm sorry. You can do presentation. I'm okay right now. For violations, so remember this is reporting in April. So in April, we issued 98 violations, 17 street parking violations, and we towed 4 vehicles. Now, I want to mention about the street parking violations because this was reporting in April prior to Curtis Protective Services starting their contract with us. I do have data on presentation, but the 17 street parking violations were issued by my team in April prior to Curtis taking contract. We processed 22 ARC applications during the month of April. 10 of those were approved, 6 were conditionally approved, and 6 were denied. We also did a lot of upgrades to the North Pool. So we had new rock installed along the perimeter and also in the palm tree beds of the North Pool. We installed 6 new umbrellas. I do understand that one of them is now broken, so we will address that. And we also refurbished a lot of the existing furniture at the North Pool. So it is starting to look good up there. We are not done, so we're just getting started. We also installed a paver pathway at the North Pool mailbox area because the mulch that we had there installed, it just got a little bit messy sometimes when it was windy or rainy. So we just thought that the paver pathway was a little better, nicer looking. We also installed a new paver pathway at the golf club entrance. So you can see that there. There are still cones there currently because it is kind of setting still. So every day, United is going there and filling it with sand and packing it down, wetting it so that it hardens and makes it nice and set. So we are asking people to still stay off of it while it is setting. We did have a windy event, a wind event at our event tent down at the golf club. So we did unfortunately lose our event tent. However, it was already in poor condition. So this was kind of we saw this coming, but unfortunately the wind did take it out and it was not salvageable. So we did purchase a new event tent that is now there. So the team came together last Friday, erected the tent, and it was just in time for the Memorial Day events that took place. So it does look good down there. Other notable items, we had some various sidewalk repairs completed on Dew Circle, Mickelson Court, Dove Valley Way, Glen Eagles, Moss Creek, Dolphin Head, Palmetto Dunes. We do have a lot of sidewalk repairs coming. We're just working through the communities slowly but surely, but those are the streets that have been worked on so far. Also, the canopy, the tree canopy along Palmetto Dune Street and Dolphin Head Street, those were lifted. Those are two of the oldest, those two streets are in the oldest part of the community. So the trees that line the street are the most mature, and they were starting to not allow big trucks or emergency vehicles down there without hitting the tops of the trees. So we did ask United to lift those canopies, so it looks much better down there. Also, all of the Washingtonia palms and the Queen palms were pruned community-wide. And the Osceola County Health Department was on site and conducted pool inspections on all of our pools. And we also had the annual fire extinguisher inspections that were completed recently. Things that are coming up, phase 1 and 2 common area pressure washing. Those are next on the list. They are scheduled to start, I believe, the second week of June. As soon as I have a confirmed date with the vendor, I will send that out. But right now they are they're tentatively on the calendar for the second week of June. We also have plaza pool deck upgrade, landscaping upgrades coming soon. And also golf course palm trees, those will be pruned very soon. And then also sidewalk repairs in phase 3. That includes, that's the K-Track, so Olympic Club Boulevard, Ballyneal, Backspin, and Fazio. So those are going to get sidewalk repairs next. Things that we are currently researching. None of this has been approved yet, but these are just things that we're working on that will be proposals soon for the board. We are researching a more permanent event space for the golf club, and an expansion of the bar area for Golf Grill. We are researching directional speakers for the plaza patio to include sound absorption panels. So I've had some meetings with vendors on that already as well. And we're also in the process of obtaining our final proposals for into the bocce ball court, and we're also speaking to bocce ball vendors to see what we need to do to make sure that our bocce ball court is bocce ball court. All right, so let's talk about Curtis Protective Services. They started on May 1st, rolling through the community. So what I'm reporting on right now is as of ago. So they've not fully completed a full month yet, but they've definitely made their presence known in the community. So in the first 27 days of being on site, they have issued 128 street parking violations. Those are specifically vehicles that have been parked on the street without a valid guest parking pass. Of that 128, only 2 vehicles have been repeat offenders. So according to our parking policy, as of right now, they're all individual cases. So that I'm going to put together a full report for the board to review once the first full month is done, just so that they have the data. But of those 128 parking violations, only 2 vehicles were repeat offenders. Also, they issued 32 blocking sidewalk violations. So these are homeowners who are parked in their driveway, but incorrectly their vehicle is over the sidewalk, hanging in the street, which is not allowed. And then they also addressed 43 miscellaneous issues. Those are calls from homeowners who called their 24-hour command center for assistance. So let's talk about those. So of those 43 incidents that residents called for, the majority of them were for people who received street parking violations. So they just wanted clarification on why they received a street parking violation. We did have one incident that they took care of where people were found using our hot tub at the plaza after hours. So, and that was addressed accordingly with those people. They did help a missing pet. They found a lost dog and did return it home safely. They addressed various solicitors that were in the community, and they also reported multiple light pole outages to Duke Energy for us, which was really helpful. And my favorite thing, they were keeping the streets safe. We got a phone call about a rogue turtle in the community. Actually, this is a snapping turtle, I believe, which they are quite violent, violent animals if provoked. So this turtle was found in the street, and our officer took the time to kindly escort it back to the waterways, which they did successfully. So they were keeping the streets safe from the turtles. To move on, we did complete our lifestyle interest survey and the results are in. So the survey was conducted from April 28th to May 16th. 268 people responded to the survey. Last year when we sent out a similar survey, 122 responses were received. So we did see an increase in responses, which is great. The results of the survey were sent to the board of directors for them to review and discuss. So once they have a chance to do that, we will see what we will do, whether we will summarize the results and send it out to the community, or just they need to decide what will happen with those results. To talk a little bit about lifestyle and events. So for this is reporting really on April and most of May. So bingo's had a great turnout the last 2 months with an average of 52 participants for both April and May. So that's 4 bingo events, where I think the lowest participation was like 51, and then we had like 67 at the highest. So it's a really good turnout for bingo. We had our community spring yard sale. We had over 30 homes participate in selling this year. We also had our Easter egg hunt, which was a huge turnout. We had over 100 participants at the Easter egg hunt over at the North Pool area, which was a lot of fun. And then our Memorial Day pool party here at the plaza had over 100 people in attendance. Things that are coming up soon are out of school bash pool party. That's happening here at the plaza. We have upcoming Wine Down Wednesday events. We're going to have French night and Spanish tapas. Father's Day lunch, reservations will be required for that and will be sent out. We have our Juneteenth celebration, and then of course the 4th of July barbecue at golf. So I'm going to turn you over to Debbie Moffer, our general manager. She's going to talk about food and beverage.
Hi everyone. So for food and beverage, let's go ahead and start with the golf grill. For April, we saw approximately 2,500 covers. A new menu was rolled out at the end of March, beginning of April. Revised hours are now until the grill will be open until 8 p.m. every evening. And the Plaza happy hour on Mondays and Wednesdays, pizza happy hour on Mondays and Wednesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. For the Plaza restaurant, we had almost 3,500 April covers for the month of April. We had a great turnout for both the Easter and the Mother's Day brunch with over 100 in attendance for each event. And on Thursdays was added in the month of April, offering beer specials and gourmet burgers, and those have been a hit as well. Upcoming, the Plaza Saturday barbecues will start in June. Those will be from 12 to 2. Plaza Summer Menu will be rolling out starting the second week of June. That's going to be a revamped menu. June 11th, the Golf Grill is going to be closing at 5 p.m. for a quarterly hood cleaning project that needs to take place there. And we'll leave the financial aspects for Golf Grill and the Plaza to John when he does his presentation.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Things popping up on the screen here. Oh, no. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Hold on. That was food beverage. Where are we
Okay.
at? Golf. Okay.
All right. So for golf, for the month of April, we had a total of 4,500 rounds. We had 2,100 of those were member rounds and 2,300 were public rounds. We had the Ladies Classic on April 5th and 6th. We had 40 participants. Hurricane Junior Tour took place on May 3rd and 4th. We doubled the revenue from what we had last year for this event. They actually also brought quite a bit of revenue to the Golf Grill during both days. And we were able to secure the same event for 2026, which was a great chance opportunity that they gave us. Memorial Day Family Structural Scramble had 100 participants. Callaway Putter Fittings on April 25th were a huge hit as well. Golf cart maintenance, Ben and the team have been working on some maintenance projects. Now that the season has been slowing, they've been working on revitalizing the black vinyl, doing all the tire pressure checks. Coming up, they're going to be working on golf cart roof cleanings and some little detailing. They're making sure the lines on the carts or anything that's been peeled off is back on. And then we're also going to be starting happy hour putter fittings with some of the vendors as well. So we're looking forward to get that information finalized and sent out to the community shortly. For golf course maintenance, in April, we had wall-to-wall fertilizer application, which was completed. We had wall-to-wall pre-emergent, which is the weed control application, was also completed. Various landscape projects were completed thanks to the beautification committee. They've been working hand in hand with Ethan and his team to get a few things done out there, and it's looking great. On hole 9, they installed new irrigation, new plant material and mulch. Hole 10, new plant material and mulch. We'll see some photos there shortly on those. They're still waiting on some sod. We're still waiting on some quotes for sod because sod is quite the commodity right now and it's quite expensive. So we're still working on those proposals. Coming up, we've got some closures for our annual maintenance. The front 9 will close from June 10th through June 13th. The back 9 will close from June 16th through June 20th. And that's for aerification and summer maintenance. We've talked a few times about the pump station to be installed soon. So far, the tentative date for its arrival is on June 6th. We have estimated that the install will start on June 9th as long as nothing changes. But if anything changes, we'll let everybody know. Here are some of the photos of some of the projects that have been taking place.
Financial
That was
report.
it for golf maintenance.
So I believe we have John McTighe online. John, can you hear us? Or
Yes,
are
I can
able
hear you.
to-
Can you guys hear me?
Perfect. Yes, we can.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Good evening, everybody. Before we get started with the financial report, I do just want to follow up with some old business, a follow-up from the last meeting. Since we last met, we did have the check scanner installed here on property. We have also made our first deposit thanks to the Memorial Day event. We had some members pay by check. So we made our first deposit this week and the money has already hit the bank account. So that is now up and running. As promised, we worked with our banking partners to get that remote check capability here on site. So moving forward, we won't have any further issues with the check processing. I can also report that since we last met, those 10 homeowners that were affected by the check scanning issue have been paid in full. So everybody is back whole and everybody is moving forward, and we have a procedure in place for on-site check scanning for the future for golf, for our golf facility. Getting into the report, what I did first for everybody is just kind of do a quick recap of where we were at for Q1 2025 versus Q1 of 2024. As you can see, in 2025, our revenue across all segments, that includes golf and both of the food and beverage venues, is up about $280,000 compared to Q1 of 2024. While at the same time, expenses are down by about $50,000 or 1.5% from Q1 25 compared to Q1 of 2024. One of the things I wanted to highlight is some of the trends. As you can see, obviously the golf course is one of our biggest revenue generators. So I just wanted to highlight the trend that we see from 2022 to 2025. And this is just Q1's numbers for each of their respective years. So you can see that growth in revenue from Q1 of 22 to 23 to 24 to 25, kind of trending in the right direction of where we would need to see that to go. Next slide, Steph. Looking at our current cash position, these numbers are as of the April financials, which have been posted out on Connect. Currently, there is $1,377,086 in our operating account. In our reserves, we have 1.132 in that account. Again, we do have that upcoming pump station replacement that we have not paid for, so that's about a $350,000 expense that's going to come out of those reserves. And then the villa reserves are currently sitting at $98,326 as of April 30th. So as you can see, everything is trending in the right direction as far as cash on hand compared to this time last year. So we are trending in the right direction. And as always, any cash that is not necessarily needed in the operating account is sitting in our money market account, currently gaining about 4% in interest still. So as we need that revenue, we will be taking that from the money market, but we do try not to move that money to keep the high interest. Next slide, Steph. So looking at some of the key factors in our revenue and our snapshot. So basically what I did here for everybody is to compare April of 2025 to April of 2024, as well as compared to budget. So if we look at the golf swing revenue, we came in at $240,195 in the month of April, compared to our budget of $199,450. So we were favorable by about 18.5% or $40,745. Just for comparison, from April to April, year over year, April of 2024, our swing revenue is $184,506. So that's about a 22.6 or 26.22% increase when looking at April 2025 compared to April 2024. As Debbie had mentioned earlier, we had a 4,505 total rounds in the month of April. That was up from last year's total of 3,971 rounds in April of 2024. Off of that metrics that we've talked about in the past, we had about a 78.2% utilization rate, and with a max rounds potential for 5,760 rounds. So what that comes out to be about is a $53.32 per round of golf. Again, up from 2024's April number of $46.46. The split this month, for the month of April, we had 2,106 member rounds, or 47% of the total round count, and the public rounds came in at 2,399 total rounds, or 53% of the total round play for the month of April. The next category is the shop revenue. Shop revenue came in at $23,653, slightly favorable to our budget by about 3%. We had a budget of $22,788. While it's slightly down compared to 2024, in 2024 we had shop sales of $24,653. So we're seeing a little bit of a decline in the shop sales year over year. By comparing the month. The two top sales categories came in at men's apparel was 25% of our general or overall revenue for the month of April, and then followed by our golf ball sales were 24% of the total revenue generated in the month of April. As I had promised, we are looking at our data a lot differently, so we are able to break out some more analytical data in terms of member versus public spend. Our total member spend of the 23,000 was $7,363 at the shop, or 31% of the total sales, which came out to about a $3.45 per round. Our public spend was $16,289.94, or 69% of our overall sales for the month of April, which gave us an average of $6.79 per round spent by a public player. Some of the highlights that I wanted to point out: the public tend to be spending a ton of money on golf balls. 83% of our overall golf ball sales were sold to a public player. 77% of our overall sales for golf gloves out of the pro shop was to a public player. And then 68% of our men's apparel was also associated to a public player. So we're looking at the trends of what's selling in the pro shop a lot better and who we're selling it to, and working out our price points towards that towards that public player. Looking at the grill revenue, we came in at $58,987 in total revenue. We were just shy of our budget of $60,000. So we missed it by about 1.69%. Although we did miss the budget projection, we are up from April of 2024 by 19.95%. Last year, April sales was only $49,174. So as Debbie mentioned earlier, the menu changed, the addition of the pizza and the golf grill has really driven our revenue up. Our two biggest sales categories for the month, our beer was 33% of our overall sales, and then our food came in at 32% of our overall sales. Continuing that breakdown of member versus public, just so everybody can see, total member spend in the golf grill was $23,205, or 39% of our total sales, which came out to about $11.02 per round spent at the golf grill. Public came in at $35,782, or 61% of our total sales, which gave a $14.92 per round spend at the golf grill. Moving over to the plaza, we came in at $102,350 in total revenue. It is short of the budget projection of $120,000. So we did miss budget by about 12.2%. We are up, however, from April of 2024 sales. That was $102,089, so slightly up by about $250. That gives us an average spend per household of $109.32. Some of the things that we're looking at with the plaza, obviously, we know that it's an amenity, but looking at that spend, the spend trend per household, we really need to get that spend up to about $130 to $140 per household per month to sustain the increased expenses. Obviously, with food costs going up, the tariffs and things like that, we're seeing increases in pricing from an expense standpoint. So we are keeping an eye on those types of things. We are looking at different options. We're always constantly looking at different vendors and pricing matrices to try to get the best price. But we do have to try to increase that spend per household up to about the $140 mark. So that is the financial presentation for April of 2024. Stephanie, back to you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Just gonna stop sharing. Okay. Board members, do we have any comments or questions on the management report?
Stephanie, I have one. Can you just, when you drive around, either yourself or with United, because if the palm tree trimming is completed, they definitely missed the street out in front of me, because I just peeked out.
Okay, and those
Yeah.
are Washingtonia or Queen Palms?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Yes, I will do that. You're on where?
Pro shop.
That's right. Okay.
I have a question, Stephanie.
Yes.
Going back to the arrears, not the amount, but the number of households
Mhm.
or accounts that have shown or that are in arrears. How do they compare to the previous month? Have they gone up or have they gone down?
In regard to how many accounts?
Yeah, the accounts, not the dollar amounts, the accounts.
I would have to look, John, and get back to you. I don't have that data in front of me.
Okay.
I can tell you that for the accounts that are at attorney, last month it was 13, and now it's 14 this month, so that's only gone up by 1. I'm not sure how it compares to the 55 households.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see if there's more that are being added now because of everything that's going on with the economy.
Yeah, I think that'd be an interesting number to see month on month. Stephanie, if you could add that to it, to your report, I think that would be interesting to see if we've got a trend of number of accounts going up.
Okay. All right.
I have a question for John. You said that our average price for a round was $53.32 and then 46. I didn't catch the cents. In
The 4646 was 2024's number.
Okay, is that public rounds or is that public and member rounds? Like,
So that's just taking the over, that's a combination of both. That's taking the total number of rounds and dividing it by revenue. Revenue is not split between public and member. I could break that down if you would like me to. But I don't have that number exactly of what it is public versus member.
I think we need to break it down because the paradox here is as more member rounds come in, they will always be lower than that average. So it will drive the average down and it'll skew the data potentially. And so I think we just need to be able to compare what are we getting for our public rounds on average 2025 versus 2024, so we can start to have a better idea of what we're actually doing there. I think we need that.
So the question that I would ask back really quick, James, would we consider member guest public rounds, or would we consider that as public?
Why don't we
Or
isolate?
member, I'm sorry, public or member?
I think we isolate it. I think we do the member round is like the actual 937 houses. The member guest is separate. And then I think the public not related to a member would be the third category.
Okay.
Is that doable?
Let me work with the data, because I just have to confirm for member guests how we're ringing them up. We might be ringing it up under the member account, but let me just double check that and make sure logistically before I can commit to it 100%. But I don't see why it wouldn't be something we can try to work through.
Okay. And then the last thing on merchandise spend, April, I think we have fewer members that are actually on property when we get to April. We also have that the members that are on property play fewer rounds as it comes to the summer. So wouldn't we naturally see a reduction in member spend in merchandise in April vis-a-vis March, February, January? Or am I again wrong on that?
Generally, yes, as we see member rounds kind of slow down for being out of season, and you know, there are a large number of members that do travel back and forth seasonally, so we would see that spend, but we are tracking it month by month. So we would be able to take the average spend for the whole year of what the seasonality we would take in. In this financial report, we're really looking at just the given month of April, but I am compiling the data from month over month, so that way we have that to study it. And start to look at our trends, because that also helps with our inventory. So as we're studying our numbers, we obviously don't need as much inventory in the slower season, but we need the data to support that. So, you know, we're trying to compile that so that way our ordering habits in the future reflect what's happening on our club.
Okay. And then my last question for you is, can you go through what you said about the plaza? We had an average spend of 109. We have a monthly credit number of 75. So we have exceeding it by 30 some odd percent, maybe 40%, can't do the math in my head. And if I heard you, you're saying that we need to get that to something much higher than that.
We do. Yeah. So right now the plaza, you know, with the member spend, we're averaging about 15,000 a month in unused food and beverage minimum credits that's being thrown into that 102 number. So our actual spend at the plaza is around 85,000, 86,000 in hard spend using the food and beverage minimums, and then it jumps up when we include the unused food and beverage minimum, because we move that into unused or recognize it as revenue under the unused. With the rising costs of product and shipment and procurement, we do need to see spend average about 140,000 to get closer to that break even expense. So you know, obviously the plaza is seasonal too a little bit with the membership going down. It's a little bit tougher with the plaza, since it is not a public entity, to generate, you know, additional revenue sources like we can do down at the grill. So we are reliant on members utilizing the amenity and coming in and spending their 75,000 or their 75 minimum plus to get to that 140 is really what we're needing to do to try to cut down some of the costs and to kind of stave off price increases. The alternative would be, you know, to look at menu pricing and evaluate that. And obviously we're trying to balance that. So if we can see spend come up at the current pricing, we would be able to stave off the increase in menu prices.
So are you talking about the spend going up, holding the unspent minimum that you just said at 15,000, are you holding that constant to get to the the 140? Or are you saying that people would actually spend it? Because based on our margins, that 15,000 of non-spend is really like 30,000 of food consumption.
Right, so we would need that to stay constant at the 15, and then, you know, have more people coming in outside of that to do that. So essentially, it would need to be a combination of a little bit of both, but more so people spending you know, more above their $75 minimum. If that 15 stayed consistent, you know, and it has pretty much for the last year and a half or so, it's kind of wavered as low as 12 and as high as 16, but we haven't really seen it stay in that. So it's been pretty consistent between that 14, 15,000 per month, you know, of unused credit being recognized as revenue.
Okay, thank you.
Lisa, I know you had a question, but you were muted, so.
I forgot I was muted. And now I can't remember what the question was. It must have been, oh, I know what it was. It was plaza arrears. So sorry. Yeah, it's one of those nights. These plaza arrears, I know we discussed them last month, and I know that there's issues with collection and stuff like that, but I would like it to be made a priority if possible, because it seems we haven't moved on a lot since last month, with chasing these dollars. I mean, and I'm sure that if I ran up a bill in the plaza of, I don't know, $700-800, you'd be chasing me fairly hard. So
Yeah, absolutely, Lisa. So since the last board meeting when that policy was approved, we've been working this whole month on moving our larger balances that are owed to ledgers.
And,
So
and
that's
have
why
you collected?
also,
Have
that's
we
also why
collected
you see
anything?
the, I'm sorry?
Have we collected anything?
Yes, we have. We have collected from, I know for a fact we've collected on one home because it was a larger balance, it was the largest balance, actually. And they were selling the home. So we moved the balance to the ledger and it was paid for during the closing.
Okay, because I
Yeah.
would like that prioritized, if possible.
Yeah, understood. And that's actually why the arrears report is going to show that it's growing as well. Because last month it was 121,000, and now it's 120, almost 127,000. So that's because we've also added some money to the ledgers that was on 4Ts.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie.
Yep.
Is that it for this? Anything else? Nope. All right, so then we're off to the next item agenda, which is the consent agenda. Before we do that, I am going to move file C, which is account 0000000601. That's a lot to say. Out of the consent agenda, and I'm going to move it to new business as our first item. So we are only on the consent agenda dealing with A, B, and D at this point. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A second.
Any discussion by the board?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. New business. So dealing with that file, if I can just deal with the four numbers, Stephanie, 0006. Originally, this file was placed in consent agenda for a payment plan because they were in arrears. We received notice from our attorney today that they have missed the payments. So I would at this point like to remove it from the consent agenda and raise the motion to move it into foreclosure. Do I have a second?
A second.
Any questions by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is in the new business is adoption of the 2025 Hurricane Manual. That would be you, Stephanie.
Yep, thank you, James. Hurricane season starts in just a few days. It's June 1st to November 30th. As a community located in a region that is vulnerable to hurricanes, And with 2025 predicted to be an extremely active hurricane season, it is essential that we take proactive steps to ensure the safety and well-being of all residents at the country club and staff. This comprehensive hurricane preparedness manual provides clear, accessible guidance before, during, and after a storm, reducing confusion and stress, protecting lives, and minimizing property damage. This manual will serve as a centralized resource to help residents understand best practices on securing their homes, what to prepare ahead of time, when and how to prepare their homes, and how to deal with the aftermath of a storm. It is an important resource with all of the information in one place. To be clear, this manual has been distributed for the last several years here in the community, and every year it is updated with current pertinent information. We would like the board to officially acknowledge and adopt the manual this year prior to distributing it to all homeowners in the community.
Thank you, Stephanie. Do we have any questions from the board? Nope. Then I will make a motion to approve the 2025 Hurricane Manual. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
John.
No discussion by the board. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thanks, Stephanie. Next item on the agenda is the management contract. That's Neil and me. So Neil, you're up.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the contract itself. We have been negotiating a new contract with FSR for some months now, and after a few additional changes following a review by the board, we've now reached a stage where it can be presented to the board at this meeting for a final review. I'll just say that our attorney has already reviewed the contract and is comfortable with the legal aspects of the contract. I'll now go through the key items in terms of the terms of the contract and then hand over to James to go through the proposal. However, before doing that, I can't stress enough the importance that during any negotiation with a partner, you end up with a final document that's both workable and fair to both parties. I believe we are now at that point, having agreed various changes with FSR. So the major terms and conditions of the contract are as follows. Firstly, the term. It's a 3-year contract starting June 1st, 2025 through to May 31st, 2028. We are looking at potentially a separate extension for 3 months to August 31st, 2028. Why would we do that? Because if we're going to be looking at negotiating a new contract or working with a separate partner, we don't want to be doing that during the high season of the beginning of the year. So to push a contract expiry out to August would be a much better process for us to adopt. But that's for the future. This is just looking at the 3 years. Termination. So termination in the contract, we have 90 days. If there's a default on the contract, there is a 90-day cure period with the board having the final decision on whether the default has been remedied or not. In addition, in the event of gross negligence or theft, then that period reduces to 30 days. Third aspect of this, services. So the services in the contract are detailed in terms of the HOA administration, the golf operations, food and beverage, accounting and finance, and lifestyle activities. Within this contract, we've also arranged for an annual review process, which will take into consideration key performance indicators. So the introduction of key performance indicators with regular reviews and a formal annual review by the board is something we haven't had in the past. The key performance indicators are living and breathing aspects of a document, and so do not necessarily belong in a contract which is fixed at a particular time However, the addition of the clause that we've added into the contract allows us to address performance and review that through the measurement of the KPIs. Financials in the contract. This contract is providing us with an additional saving on management fees over the course of the 3 years of $120,000 over and above what the existing contract would currently has in place. We've negotiated these reduced rates from the existing contract, thereby providing the savings over a 3-year period. Another important clause within the contract is at the end of that 3-year period, if we did decide to terminate First Services, there is obviously the issue of the employees. Now, the employees are First Services employees. They're not our employees. The association has no employees. If we were to hire those employees with a new management company, there is a penalty for us in doing so, in terms of paying a compensation to First Services for the employment of their employees. Normally, the market rate for this at the moment is around 40%, but we were able to negotiate a reduction of that of 30% on the annual salary and wages, should we ever get to that point. We have also managed to delete several clauses that were in the existing contract and amended wording, removing words such as endeavor to make it more specific in terms of what they're going to deliver. Waiver by trial by jury, we managed to delete. First Services' right to post advertising signs around the community. And we've deleted a number of those aspects in the contract. And then the final point that I will mention in terms of legal is I wanted to make sure that this is, people are aware that the 558 lawsuit against Lennar, which is likely to go on for at least another couple of years, if not longer. Both the HOA attorney and the construction defect attorney advised against changing management companies during this process, as the disruption will further delay the proceedings. We'll also lose the benefit of accumulated knowledge that First Services have gained over the past 3 years on this subject. That's just, it's not part of the contract, but it's just a legal aspect that we need to be aware of. So in summary, this is a contract that provides a solid base for strengthening our partnership with FSR for the next 3 years, should the board decide to move forward with it. On that, I'll hand over to James to provide a proposal and recommendations to the board.
Okay, thank you, Neil. There's no other contract that we enter into that compares to the significance and magnitude of our management company contract. This is because the management company contract is really about people and their impact on our community, both visibly and possibly more importantly, behind the scenes. As such, this renewal is more than just the provision of goods. Example, selling polo shirts at the pro shop, or services, arranging for the trimming of palm trees. But it's for the oversight and delivery of hundreds, if not thousands, of tasks involved in operating a multi-million-dollar business, such as us. As such, the board takes its responsibility of hiring and/or retention of a management company extremely seriously. We must weigh a series of factors in order to decide on the best course of action. These include, but are not limited to, what's the cost of change? What's the risk of change? What is the impact on the community of the change? How about performance, personnel, contract costs, and so forth? So allow me to take you through some of the key information we looked at. So if we start back at the beginning, when Lennar turned the community over to us, they left us with minimal cash on hand at the time. In June of 2022, the board replaced Icon and appointed FSR to manage our HOA. There were numerous reasons for this change, but one of the overriding factors was Icon's failure to deliver financial results. For the first 6 months of the contract after FSR was appointed, The board and FSR were tasked with stabilizing the HOA's cash position and operations. In reality, people, it was a survival mode. FSR has provided financial support to the HOA in a number of ways. Most of you are probably not aware of this, but let's do one example. In our current contract with FSR, they are required to float one payroll for us. During this 18-month period initially, they floated 3 payrolls. That differential works out to be about $270,000 for 18 months that they lent us interest-free. 7% interest, that's roughly $1,500 a month, $18,000 a year. I will say that since Q3 of 2024, we are meeting the 14-day obligation, and based on our cash position and growth, that's expected to continue. In mid-2023, it became clear that changes were necessary and our golf business model was completely revamped. Work commenced to move from a high volume, low revenue annual pass holder to the more financially lucrative daily green fee player, while keeping in account member play. As a reminder to all, in 2023, golf missed its annual budget by $300,000. That budgetary miss equates to $320 for each and every one of our houses. The golf business model change was implemented by FSR commencing in January of last year. The financial results for golf in 2024 have been the most financially lucrative the HOA has ever experienced. As reported earlier tonight by John, our momentum in 2025 has continued through the first 4 months. The financial success of our golf operations over the last 16 months is arguably the most significant key performance indicator we have. But there are operational metrics that FSR is also working to improve upon. Some of those Neil has just touched on. As part of the review process of our management contract, the focus was on what is in the best interest of the entire HOA. Our fiduciary duty and obligation as a board is to make decisions that are in the best interest of the entire community, and at times that will prove to be unpopular and with some segments of our community. And sadly, at times, it will not be aligned with our wishes of our friends. However, it is essential as a board and a community we rise above that. We put aside that and we make the decisions that are in the best interest of the HOA. There is also the option to extend the FSR contract for a 1-year period, then perform an RFP. The additional cost for saving off that would be of extending that contract for the 1 year from June 1st of 2025 to May 31 of 2026 is $34,000, $36 per house. This does not provide any additional services to anyone within the HOA. After that 1-year extension, the choice would be either to enter into a new contract with FSR or select another management company. If the decision at that time is to select another management company, there is significant cost to change, including the cost to buy out staff from FSR, assuming FSR would release them, assuming that the team member would be willing to come. That cost to move all of them is $900,000 or $960 per household. During a period of uncertainty, there's undoubtedly a reduction in productivity, and the cost of that is difficult, if not impossible, for me to quantify. The inconvenience to our members during this period could include learning new email addresses, new phone numbers, changing HOA payments, updating and inputting credit card information. The list goes on. Some will trivialize this, but we still have members using email addresses from 3 years ago. We also have members that have not updated their credit cards since the new POS system went into effect on January 1, 2024. All of those end up impacting our HOA finances. Although it's difficult to estimate these costs, right, we can predict with relative certainty that it would be in excess of $100,000. The global size of FSR allows them to obtain third-party savings that other management companies just can't do. The cost reductions to our HOA include preferred vendor pricing. Through utilizing FSR's preferred vendor relationships allows us discounts with vendors that we already use. These discounts are part of our relationship with FSR, and if we were to cancel FSR, they would go away. In 2024, those savings were approximately $50,000. We anticipate the same level this year and in subsequent years. Another item is our current bulk service contract with Spectrum. That can be renegotiated in 2026. As in the past, we negotiate directly with Spectrum and we obtain our best price that we can. After that, there is an agreement between Spectrum and FSR that clients of FSR are eligible for a lump sum payment from Spectrum. Under the current agreement, our HOA would receive $300, at least $300 per household, which is approximately $280,000 paid directly to our HOA. This savings alone covers approximately 50% of the total 3-year management fee payable to FSR. This is a significant incentive of being a partner with FSR. Let me recap those two savings for you. The preferred vendor savings of $50,000 a year for 3 years amounts to $150,000. The Spectrum incentive equates to $280,000. Combined, that's $430,000. The total management fee payable to FSR over the 3-year contract is $520,000. The savings almost covers the entire 3-year contract. The way you become successful and exceed budgets and expectations is you must be willing to take a risk and not be scared of persecution or retaliation, either as a management company or as a board. Our management company must be free of the fears and be able to execute on the plan that is developed with them. Yes, this means they're going to try some things. Yes, they're going to make mistakes and they're going to fail on them. But that's okay, because that's the only way that we can fully explore what is possible. As you've heard tonight, and you've probably heard on the news, over the next little bit, we can expect to experience some headwinds. These will undoubtedly come in the form of higher expenses due to inflation and tariffs. There is a decline in tourism, and Orlando is not immune from this. This will see our market shrink, reduce demand, and may lower our revenue. This is the time to have a trusted and proven partner, a partner that is well-versed in navigating these types of situations, a partner that is stable, a partner that has the financial resources to support our community, a partner that has a proven willingness to assist our HOA in difficult times. Finally, a partner that has a track record of delivering results, as we have seen in the last couple of years. Given the totality of this, I support the 3-year contract with FSR and our management company. I know that this is a lot to absorb, people, right? But allow it to sink in for a bit. I'd like to open it up now at this time for discussion by the board. Anyone?
You're on mute, Lisa.
Can you hear me now?
I was getting worried that I was on mute for that.
That will, yeah, well, look, my views are well known. I still think that we are negligent in our fiduciary duty not to be investigating other options. And I think we would probably get 3 quotes for a $5,000 pool pump, but we're not getting more than 1 quote for a $100,000, how many, whatever size contract this is. Neil, can I just correct you at something you said? I was actually at that meeting with Kaylin when we asked about the 558, and to the best of my recollection, which is fairly sharp, she actually did say that it would not have an adverse effect. She said that it would depend on the company that was brought in. So a lot of the stuff that James has just said is assuming that we're going to go with a 2-bit company based out of a PO box in Davenport, and that probably wouldn't have been the case. But I just like to correct you on that, because it was actually something I actually put in my notes. So I think that needs to be corrected. And James, a lot of the stuff you're talking about with, cost of changes, you don't know that because you haven't looked. And FSR are not the only company around that actually have approved vendors. They're not the only company around that does all these sort of things, but we have not investigated it. So our homeowners are in the dark. They're like mushrooms. That's all I have to say on it at the moment.
Okay,
No, I'm not. Okay. In my meet the candidate speech and so forth, I had talked about the contract coming up and so forth. And I'm not saying that FSR is not the company to go whether they've not done a good job or they're not doing a good job. My concern was that I felt that we should at least obtain pricing for the services it is that we are getting so that we can do a comparative. The probability is we'd stay right with FSR, but as Liesl just said as well, we don't really know what the differences are because we only have one side of it. And I understand the need to work together as a community as well as a management company. I do that myself every day. So I understand the importance of that. I just felt and still feel that it would have been best for us or beneficial for us to have something to use as a comparative. When I go automobile shopping, I go to more than one auto store to find a car and for a number of reasons, what it's going to offer me, et cetera, et cetera. So I just think it would have been best for us to at least get a different quote or other quotes to see what could have been changed or what could have been obtained and so forth. Because I do know that a lot of what FSR offers is offered by others as well. It's just not exclusive to FSR.
I think,
so let me
John,
ask you something.
I was going to say, John, on the financial side, I know going back to the Icon contract 3 years ago, FSR came in significantly under that contract in terms of the management fees. And now we've got a contract option here, which again gives us significantly lower fees than the current contract. So in comparison on a financial basis to what we were paying Icon 3 years ago, we're paying a lot less for a management company than we were then. So for me, that's a good comparison.
Well, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but you got a 3-year difference and so forth. That affects companies in a variety of different ways. I know FSR has come down in price, and that's great. Obviously, we very much appreciate that because we can get more for our dollar. My only thought, like I mentioned, was that is there something else that could be a little bit different? I don't know. And I don't know and won't know until you actually ask the questions. That's all.
And John, on that point, I think that's sort of the key in my head as well, is a little different doesn't move the needle, right? So in other words, I think of this, like to James' point, right now, to hire any FSR employee, we pay what I call a headhunter's fee, right? But it's you're buying their asset to some extent. And in corporate, that happens all the time, right? You go out, if it's executive, it's crazy money. If it's, a junior person, it might be 30%, 40%, whatever. Corporations do that all the time, but they have revenue sources and money, and they're not spending owners, right? So from my perspective, not saying I don't like the employees, but to pay any money. So if you take a $50,000 employee at just say 30%, that's 15 grand. That's 5 computers, or that's, some other thing that the community needs. If you do that on scale, right? If you wanted to hire all of Ethan's team, or you wanted to hire all the HOA team, now you're talking hundreds of thousands, right? Which I don't think any of us would ever sign up for. So you'd have to be willing, unlike a car purchase, you'd have to be willing to literally swap out all 70 odd employees one day to the next, right? So everybody would be gone, right? So everybody on this call, everybody at the grill, the golf shop, etc., unless we were willing to spend money to hire specific individuals, which again, when you equate that to what else could you do with that money, it's in my mind, it's really hard to spend money, paying off for an employee, especially that employee doesn't have a contract, right? So you could pay that $15,000 in my example. They could walk 2 weeks later, and now you've lost the employee and you're out the money. So there's no guarantees from that perspective. And having gone through the change with Icon, I remember Aaron Grace was down working at the pro shop. It's disruptive, right? Employees get nervous, they leave, and then you got and I'm sure, John, you run into this. I remember Icon, chef left, executive chef left. They're like, we can't hire this position. So either we can fill it with temps maybe, or FSR, can you hire? And they're like, well, we can, but we don't have any, coverage to go in and start working. We don't have our liability insurance set up. So it's like, what do you do? So now you have resources that the old company can't hire because it's a temporary assignment, and the new company can't hire because they're not actually running the operation yet. So that's where I draw the distinction is this is a people decision as much as it is a financial decision. And again, to the best, since a lot of these things all these contracts are public, they're generally public within communities. I've tried to benchmark. So I've tried to look at burden rates in other communities like Solavita at 2%. I've looked at the Oasis Club. So I've tried to do what I can to not do a formal RFP because I don't want to waste our time or another company's time, but to try to benchmark, where we stand, and also look at, if you're running an $11 million business, what is that bottom line? 2%, 5%? So again, on $11 million, a 5% bottom line margin to cover all your overhead is 600,000, right? Give or take. So, again, I don't think that, and John, in conversations with you, I don't think we're, FSR is out of the ballpark. We're not talking, we're going to save $500,000 by going to a different company, unless you talk about a totally different structure as far as staffing or closing amenities or something like that. You're not going to look at another company and all of a sudden see that, $400,000 savings. It just doesn't exist.
And I do not disagree with you at all. And, it's more than, in all honesty, the financials are obviously an extremely important part of it, but it's more than just the financials as well. There's other things that could be identified. Maybe there's an additional service that another company offers that we had not been thinking about, that we could go to FSR and say, look, can you provide this service? What would the cost be? It's those type of things. It's not just, it's just not dollars. It's what else can we might possibly get? And again, I'm not saying that FSR doesn't offer it all. I'm just saying there might be something out there that just missed, that could have been brought in and could have been increased or improved, bits and pieces here and there. That's really my big part of it. That's all.
Okay, anything else? Nope. All right, so do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, please.
Okay,
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to extend the current FSR contract for another year. And at that time, the BOD will send out RFPs to selected management companies. And the purpose of this would be to ensure that the HOA is getting the best value and the best service for the management of the community and the golf course. This is what I thought had been agreed at our very first board meeting, but there you go. So that's my motion tonight.
Okay, can I make a motion? I'd make a motion to accept the 3-year contract from FSR.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second, Neil.
Vote on
I'm
the
so
first
sorry.
one.
So we need to see if there's a second to Liesel's motion first.
I'll second that motion based on my meet the candidates and my speech and recommendation to the community at time of election.
Okay, we need to vote on that motion. So all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
aye.
Aye.
Okay,
So
motion does not carry. So Neil, you had a motion?
Yeah, my motion is for the board to accept the proposed 3-year contract as presented tonight.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor of that motion?
aye.
Aye.
Aye. From the standpoint in regards to being unified with the board.
And opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the vote is 4-1, motion carries.
Excellent. Next item on the agenda is the Community Enhancement Committee. Neil.
Okay, thanks, James. Following the successful completion of their projects and the decision to disband the golf beautification team, this is an opportunity to establish a formal committee that will represent the entire community. Before doing that, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of those involved in both golf beautification and plaza beautification for their dedication to this initiative, giving up time they could have otherwise spent with their families and friends. A big thank you to all of those who participated. So this is especially timely as we've been receiving as a board competing requests for enhancement and fundraising, and we need to bring it all together in a formal manner. Also, legally, it needs to be a formal committee to provide the necessary oversight, since we are raising over $60,000 a year from residents through these efforts. If approved, this newly established committee will focus on a community-wide approach, be it shade at the pickleball, shade at the bocce ball, heat at the North Pool, further golf course or plaza enhancements, etc. Again, if approved, we will be seeking committee members and welcome applications from all residents, including those that have previously served on either the golf or the plaza beautification projects. As such, I would like to make a motion to approve this charter for the Community Enhancement Committee as presented. Do we have a second for that motion?
I second.
Do we have to read the charter or no?
Well, the charter was presented as a document. I didn't read all of the
Okay,
contracts, so no, I don't think we need to read the whole charter.
okay.
Neil, sorry.
Yes.
3 to 5, is that large enough? I mean, I know committees can get unwieldy, but I think we can go up to a maximum of 7.
7.
We can amend that to 7.
Okay, I think it's better to be
Better
either 3 to 7 or 5 to 7.
Yeah,
Are we gonna say minimum of 5 or minimum of 3, maximum of 7?
I would go minimum of 5, maximum of 7.
okay.
It's only, but that's just my.
Yeah, we can amend the charter to reflect that.
Okay, so just one thing on that. We ran into this problem with covenants, where we had a year ago, 2 resigned at the same time. It took us below the number. We had to beg one of our covenants committee members to stay on to get us through a couple of meetings. I mean, if we're above the minimum, if we keep it at 3, does it really matter? It just can't be an even number.
Correct. Yeah, I'm fine
Okay,
with
well,
3 to 7, that's fine.
right. Let's leave it at 3 then.
And
3
then
to
max
7.
7, okay.
Can I say something here? As the board liaison for the beautification team, and also as previously a member of the beautification team, the beautification team did not disband themselves. This was a board, well, this was some of the board's decision. This came out of the blue for us. The beautification team asked me to let the board know that we felt that the feedback we were getting from homeowners was maybe there was enough trees that had been planted around, and that maybe we should look at maybe using our fundraising efforts, which are considerable, by the way, to do other things. And that's what we did. And that's what I said to the board that day, which was a Thursday. And then on the Tuesday morning, I get an email, as with the rest of the board, to say that our team had been disbanded.
I'm sorry, Lisa, you said in that meeting that the golf beautification was disbanding. Those were your
No, I didn't.
exact.
Sorry, no, I did not. Neil, Neil.
James and Alan will also support me on that.
No, I never said we were disbanded. I've never even used that word. I said we were going to change our focus and look at other enhancements. I never used the word disbanded, and I will stand over that.
Yeah,
So
well,
this is your decision. I would like to say something. To the owners over the since 2022, Darren Lefebvre has written a piece that's going to be put into one of the community newsletters, hopefully. So I won't jump on his parade, but I would like to say to the homeowners over the last 3 years who have supported all our beautification projects, who have given us raffle tickets, who have bought raffle tickets, who have given us raffle prizes, who have sponsored holes, who have sponsored competitions, who have come out and played. None of this could have been done without you. We raised over $250,000 over the last couple of years for golf beautification. Now, despite what Neil says, I can tell you now that was never the case that we were disbanding. We were moving our focus. So that was it. And I can categorically say that because I remember. I would never have said we disbanded because we weren't. It came as a shock to us all. I wish you, and I'm sure the rest of the team wish you all the very best with your community enhancements. But I really just wanted to say thank you to the homeowners. We finished with a swan song on Monday where we raised over $15,000 for a memorial scramble. It was a great day, lovely atmosphere. And again, we live in an absolutely fantastic community and the team appreciate you all.
Okay, thank you, Lisa.
So just, sorry, so Lisa, I thought I remember you saying this was our last event, which we interpreted to be that the
Last beautification event.
never
Yeah.
had never had committee status per se. It was always there. So I think all we're trying to do is say, this was great. Let's now figure out how to make it even better. Now, maybe to some, putting the formality of noticing a meeting and minutes and stuff like that isn't ideal. But I think as a board, we, putting it under a committee umbrella, and I know we were very, careful on our committees. We just thought this would be a logical one to bring together, a group of, again, resident volunteers who are willing to donate their time. And it literally could be most, if not all of some of the same people that were doing it. It just formalizing that process and giving them a bigger remit to say, not just golf's obviously part of that, but the rest of the community as well, right? Because it's always been, not necessarily equal as far as, and obviously golf is a bigger fundraising opportunity than holding events at the plaza or et cetera. So in my mind, this would be a great thing to formalize a committee and have them look at the broader community. And it could be, maybe not planting more trees, but it could be more beautification of the golf course. It could be a water feature, it could be shade, it could be whatever. But it also could be, to Neil, like what Neil mentioned, like the heater at the North Pool, right? Because for probably 5 months out of the year, we got one amenity that's pretty much unusable unless you're, from Alaska or have a hardy skin. So from my perspective, I didn't realize it was so controversial. I thought this was just formalizing, the process of a committee, which includes notification and things like that, but just putting a little structure around it and giving them a bigger remit to say, look across the whole country club and see what you can, come up with and how we fundraise and identify those projects, right? Because I think we were exceedingly successful when we had specific projects that said, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're fundraising for, and we went out and did it. So again, I think if the community thinks heating, I'm just using the North Pole heater because that's been brought up several times, but if they think that's the right way to go, or the bocce courts, which Stephanie's getting quotes on, again, some of that can be funded by the HOA, some of it, ideally from a beautification or enhancement committee. But, our bocce courts are pretty sad compared to some other communities, even just the fact that there's no wood around the cement, that everybody's bocce ball gets all dinged up, things like that. So for my mind, this is just putting a structure and giving it a bigger remit.
I'm sure the new committee will take all that into account. And as I said, I just wanted to take the opportunity on behalf of the team to thank everybody. Yeah, that's.
I think the hard part about this is the word when it came out is disbanded, because I'll be honest with you, what I heard Liesl say was that they were taking a break and this was going to be the last event and they would look at other opportunities to be able to provide or support in the community. When the words and the rumors obviously get out really quick and so forth, when disbanded gets out there, it takes another view or another look from the owners saying that the board's taken over and they've made this decision and so forth. I just think it was just presented wrong, obviously got out there improperly. And I know Liesl did, I will say Liesl did say that they were taking a break, that this was going to be their last event, but she did not say that they were going to be quitting and disbanding. They were just going to be looking at other opportunities.
Thanks, John.
So John, do you see an issue with formalizing it under a committee, or?
I don't see an issue formalizing it. I think what the problem is right now is that because of the word that's gotten out there, there's a lot of folks that are upset and feel underappreciated, and you may not get them to volunteer.
With all due respect, John, there was 5 people in the room. Those 5 people are the 5 people speaking right now. So which one of the 5 spoke? Only way word gets out is from one of the 5 of us.
I have no idea. All I know is that it
I
got
told
back
the
to me.
team, I came back and I said that we weren't disbanding. You came back and you said that this was the situation. So I said I would let the team know, which I did.
So what I believe, because this was an exchange of emails, Liesl, was that.
I have them here. I have them here, James.
Okay, then that's good. So Neil sent through as our legal liaison, put together the charter. Like, I'm not sure if I'm missing something here. If the group of people want to continue on to this and we formalize it, I'm not seeing this as an issue. So I'm not sure, because if they want to stay doing it and go under this charter, I have zero issue with that. So I'm not sure what the disconnect here is. I'm not sure what I'm missing.
Well, I suppose it's the fact that the email came out to say that the disbanding of the beautification team and to establish a new community enhancement committee. So that's it. And that's what I did. I just said thank you to everybody. That's what I wanted to do tonight. But as I said, it was a bit of a surprise because I didn't take it that we were disbanding. It was just that this was going to be the last tree type of raising money, fundraising thing. We were going to look at trying to do something else.
So is what you're saying, we have a disconnect in verbiage here?
Well, just somebody's telling me that something has been disbanded. Yeah, I think so.
Well, this wasn't. So I believe that we should be formalizing. I do believe, though, that if the members of that committee, or actually, sorry, task force or group or team, whatever we refer to them as, wants to transfer over, I don't think I have an issue with that. I don't know why we would. Because that's not, this is different than my understanding in that room.
I know.
Well, your response to me was that given that the golf beautification has ended and you were going to pivot to encompass the entire community, and you reckon it was the appropriate time to formalize. We were never a committee; we were just a fundraising team.
Right. So, but everything in that email that I sent you is actually what you said. That you were stopping golf, and then we were going to formalize it.
We're not going to do any more of the trees and things like that. We were actually, what we were hoping to do was do something shade wise down at the golf club.
So but that was the number one item originally on the beautification team.
And we had the funds. We were hoping that maybe that might be something that we could focus on, but it's moot now. So as I said, I'm sure you'll have a very good committee. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank all the homeowners over the years who had helped us. As I said, $250,000 is no mean feat.
No, it's not. And it's actually quite exceptional. But I keep coming back to this, Liesl. If when we were in that meeting, and the conversation is that we were, even by John's words, that we're stopping. If there's a misunderstanding here.
Yeah, there is a misunderstanding. We were taking a break from golf beautification, i.e. planting palm trees, bougainvilleas, black crepe myrtles, all that type of stuff, because we were getting feedback that people felt that there was plenty of trees on the golf course. So what we then said we would do is we would look at looking at other enhancements. And that's exactly what I said that day.
So then why don't we just formalize this and move the people to that?
Well, I don't really think we need to be formalized, but if you do think we need to be formalized, well, then that's fine. As I said, I'm sure. Sorry, Neil.
I said, I think that's all we're trying to do is to formalize, put a charter around it, to formalize the process so that, that there is visibility to what's happening within that.
We've always been very transparent, Neil.
But there's been no legal structure around it, and dealing with that kind of funds, that there has to be a structure around it so that
not a dime of those funds was ever spent without BOD approval. So, but look, as I said, we're holding people up from their dinner. I just wanted to take the opportunity to say thank you to all the homeowners who donated, and I wish the new committee, what's it called, the Community Enhancement Committee, all the best.
John,
Okay,
is
I
there
still
any
think we need to
report?
formalize it. I mean, if there were, if the individuals from the golf beautification and the plaza beautification want to form part of this enhancement committee, I don't think that's an issue. I don't know why
Oh,
it
I
would
know,
be.
I'm sure there is, but that'll be up to them what they want to do.
Like,
Okay,
what I tried to say, James, is I don't think there's anything wrong with formalizing it. You put guidelines around it, I understand that. I think the way that it was received, that it offended some people hearing that it was disbanded when they never said that they were disbanding. And they got the impression that the board was taking action to disband them in doing what they were doing.
And
I
that
think
was
that's
getting-
where the communication portion of it was lost.
but I never had a communication with the beautification.
Oh,
I'm just
you,
saying-
I told you I would go
And-
back. I reported
And
back.
where in my emails, if you're, like, you guys are blaming me for this, and I'm getting a little annoyed.
No,
at
I'm
you.
not blaming you, James.
Because
I'm
I've
not.
never
I'm
said the
actually,
word disbandment.
I'm actually saying the
There's
first
no
email, sorry, James, the first email came from Neil. And he said, in view of the disbanding of the beautification team. And what my point is, that was the first that I had heard of any of you talking about the disbanding of the beautification team.
And the reason
That
the
was,
reason I
that was
used
on May
because you said
13th, which
we're
is the
now
Tuesday after
stop.
the meeting we had on the Thursday.
because you had said we're stopping doing any more events. So that to me means it's ceasing.
No, I said we were looking at putting our focus on other things.
Said the
Now,
memorial was
as
the
maybe
last
there was a
event we were going to be
miscommunication
doing.
between you and I, but what I'm saying is, so when on the email chain, then when I said I would go back and I would let the team know, that's what I did know. I did let them know. Because
That
they
we
had a
were
right to know, seeing as they are the
formalising-
team.
That we were formalizing the process.
I told them actually that I basically sent them a bit of what you said, which
You
is in view of disbanding of the beautification
disbanding
team.
by the board,
Sorry,
which is
Neil?
not what we were. You told them that they were disbanding by the board, which we weren't doing. We were formalizing the process.
Okay, but the first line of your email to the board was in view of the disbanding of the beautification team.
Yeah, and we're now formalizing the committee.
So that's what I'm saying. This was there wasn't an email before to the board about this. There was just charter in the inbox. That's all.
Lisa, we were expecting nothing because our meeting had nothing to do with this. You brought this up. Nobody went actually asking for any of this.
On the Thursday, I just gave you an update, as I always do when you give you an update with the beautification, because that's my job as the liaison. It was a brief update.
Right, and from that it was, okay, and we have, as you see in request.
From that, Neil took it and wrote a charter and sent it on the Tuesday. And I'm just saying that I had just given you an update. We weren't doing anything, and out of the blue, then this came. But that was your decision. So that's fine. I'm just wanted to take the opportunity this evening to thank the homeowners.
Okay. I'm a little lost on this. So are we moving forward? Do we have a motion on this then? On this?
Well, I didn't make a motion.
Yeah, we have a motion and we also have a second to approve the charter as written. So now we just need to vote. The board needs to vote. So Neil made the motion to approve, Alan seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
I
All of them, all, okay. Okay, all in favor, motion carries.
all right. Interesting. Next item on the agenda is the NTech computer replacements. Alan.
Thanks, James. So just very quickly, this is part of our sort of annual refresh cycle we want to get onto. There's a total of, I think, 5 computers, 3 of which are the POS, the big screens, touch screens that are out of warranty out of a supported operating system. And then there's a laptop replacement and an office desktop replacement. And we'll start to see this on an annual basis because obviously we can't we've never gotten into that cycle where we're replacing, say, a fifth of or a quarter of our computers every year. So this will be kind of like the start of that. So we'll have this kind of going forward. So this includes everything, setup, delivery, a little bit of training, although I think they should operate very similar to previously. We'll have all the software loaded for the POS, all the Windows stuff that Office, et cetera, that they use. Total cost is around $12,265. And again, this will be a sort of a capitalized item. It will depreciate it, so it won't be a sort of a 1-year P&L impact necessarily, but it'll be a cash impact. And again, we'll look at the life cycle of going forward for 26, 27, 28, et cetera, and how many of those laptops, desktops we have to replace as well. So I would make a motion to approve the purchase of these 5 computers.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
These prices are crazy, like crazy. That laptop, which is a fairly basic Dell model, they're charging us $1,669.47 without tax or shipping. And I could buy it from Amazon for $819. Now I understand that this is all to do with this company and the network and everything, but
Yes.
they actually are charging on this invoice an additional $2,000 for preparation and installation.
Yep.
That's
So
so
reaction is
we're paying 100% more than we could be paying just for the privilege. Because it sounds to me as if they think we've just got a big bottomless pit.
Alan, doesn't that include a 5-year support?
It does.
contract?
It includes the ability to access stuff remotely, et cetera, connection to the network, all the redundancy and
It's not
backup.
just the cost of the hardware, it's the cost of the software they're going to implement as well as the 5-year support.
That's include the Microsoft Windows and all the updates and the support. That's all included in the $2,000, but as well.
Yep. Oh yeah, don't disagree that, again, I'm not sure we could ever get the Amazon pricing because of all the.
No, I'm not saying,
factors that go into it. But
I
yes,
understand
one
that.
of the longer term strategies that we need to look at is what is our IT strategy, right? Because we made a good decision because we used to have all the servers sitting in rooms without air conditioning and with water sprinklers, et cetera. So we got redundancy, put it in a data center. But we are, with NTech, we've always known that that's kind of a platinum level, and we probably don't need a platinum level of support. But they are very responsive, and we know when we don't connect to the network, we have a lot of issues. And I know they work with even FSR to get their computers connected to the network, et cetera. So unfortunately, we don't have a ton of options if we want to, have these functional tied into our point of sale system and working.
When did we last go out to tender for our network support?
So it's a 5-year contract. It's probably in its 3rd year.
And in the next 2 years, you're talking about, on average, how many computers?
I'd say we probably will average 5 to 7 a year.
How many total are there?
70, you have the number? Thought there was like 27, 26.
I just think it's crazy paying them that money. It's like taking us to the woodshed. Beating us.
Am I muted? Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, yes.
Okay, sorry. There are 27 devices,
Thank you.
and that's including desktops, laptops, POS. That's all of our POSs as well, POS machines.
It excludes laptops that First Service provides or just, laptops only.
Right.
Yep.
We gone back to them and sort of said, sharpen your pencil, boys.
Oh yeah, this is sharpened compared to what we used to pay.
What are they going to charge us?
It used to be upwards of almost 3,000 for a laptop. So, but Lisa, we're happy.
That's criminal.
We're happy to set up a meeting with you, and they can talk you through all the.
This isn't my field, other than this is my money, no more than it's all our monies and all the other 932 houses that are listening tonight. So it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to make sense that we're spending that amount of money when maybe there might be other ways around it.
Not
Yeah,
without
I
further
think
review,
if we purchase them separately, Lisa, then they would, Entech doesn't
no
support,
warranty 'em.
and that's.
Sorry,
that's
say
the-
again, you broke up there, Neil?
If we purchase them like from Amazon, which is significantly cheaper, I agree, but then we don't get the support of Entech and they won't come in and install them, they won't support them at all. And that was always one of the issues we had with them in terms of, you know, they have this 5-year contract, they are contracted to us, and if we don't buy the equipment from them, they won't support it.
I know, but it's a 5-year contract and the price of computers it comes down and jumps every year.
It's certainly something we should look at. You know, if we've only got 2 years left to go on the contract, it's certainly something we should be looking at.
Yep.
In terms of, do we need them going forward?
Okay,
But
thanks,
in the
Alan.
In the meantime, I think we've got to go with this, unfortunately.
I don't know what option you have. We tried this last year.
So as of right now, only a motion has been made. We still do need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Could I preface my vote by saying that I think we need to start looking now before the contract is up at something where,
Oh, yeah.
you know, where we're going to get a similar type of service without being made an idiot of it by paying over 100% more than we should do for something as simple as a laptop. And it's a fairly basic laptop. So
I think one of the issues we had last time is we didn't have the board, like yourself, Lisa, we don't have that technology experience or expertise. So what we could do with is maybe polling some of the residents who do, like a Russ Oliver who has technology experience, or some of the other residents who I know are engaged in technology to help us through that. So maybe we start to think about a little project to look at our technology needs and technology requirements and pull some residents together.
Yep.
I
and
think
you-
that would be an
you'll
idea because
recall,
these prices are criminal.
we did that
Right.
with Ross, Mario, a few others, and there are savings absolutely out there. But one of the things we have to look at is the longer term picture, right? In other words, do we want to be on fiber versus spectrum? You know, we talked about savings earlier with FSR and spectrum, but a lot of communities are moving to fiber. You know, so we've got that aspect. We've got our data center. I mean, actually, the master brought this up when they looked at their gate infrastructure, right? They don't have a wide area network. Every gatehouse has its kind of own little desktop, et cetera. So they need their overall IT strategy. And they might have a strategy around fiber or something as well. And remember, Neil, Russ had gotten a proposal to run, the piping,
Fiber optics all the way down.
all the way down to
From
the
the
golf
top.
shop, golf maintenance, all that, right? Because fiber is probably the future. We talked about infrared, so again, we need the strategy of where we want to be in 2, 3, 5, 7 years. We also need to include all kinds of aspects like our cyber insurance, right? So again, Lisa, we can buy a laptop, but if we don't have the right protections on it and we get breached and someone steals data or whatever, credit cards, et cetera, that could be a massive expense. So yes, we pay a higher price, but it comes with some level of protection. So all I'm saying is we got to look at this holistically, not what can we pay for a laptop in 2026, but like, what is our strategy? Where do we want to be? Like the data center comes up as well. We got right now 2 gig lines between us and Tampa to have the data move back and forth. Maybe, and that's through Spectrum. Maybe Spectrum isn't the right solution. Maybe the data center isn't the right solution for us, but we have nothing on property to house computers and servers with any redundancy. But so like it's a combination of looking at Entech, but it's looking at the larger IT strategy and infrastructure we want in place for the long term.
Okay, that's fair enough, and I get that because we discussed that, you and I, at the budget when we had our budget discussion last when I came on the board. But all I'm saying is we need to be checking out other companies because
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Nope.
just sticking with the
or,
company
you know,
because we're
to
familiar with them.
go back to NTAC and, you know, ask them what their, you know, what it would look like. And again, we need that strategy first, then we can get quotes on what that support, because there's two aspects, right? There's the hardware, software, and support, are three aspects. So we got to
Yeah.
figure out, like, obviously we think NTAC is high and offering what a corporation might ask for. We don't need that necessarily as an HOA, but we got to make sure we have the same cyber protections. And, you know, if the network goes down, right, we got to still be able to ring credit cards through the golf shop on a Thursday. So we can't have it go down for, you know, more than minutes, if not extended period of time. So again, we got to just understand, what is that service level we need for operations, and how does that fit into what the company we choose? And, you know, they're also not exactly, although they come on site as needed. But yeah, all that has to be wrapped up into a project, and make sure that we don't make, you know, some mistakes we made with Fortis being sold like, hey, this is great, and find out it's not in certain aspects. So again, it's a involved project that we have to figure out who those resources are, and then who from the board sort of oversees that.
Okay. So we voted, so that's the end of that part. We now have, Stephanie, I think we have the open forum, so do we have comments online?
Yes, so the open forum section will be 30 minutes. We do have some messages in the chat. And then as of right now, we do have two homeowners who have their hands raised. So we're going to go through the chat messages first.
We see the chat messages, Stephanie.
Can you see them?
Yeah.
Not if they're sent to
No,
Stephanie
I
directly.
can't see them.
They're
Yeah,
going
no.
to Stephanie.
Okay.
Stephanie, there's a way to download them, I think, right? I'm not sure on Zoom, but I know.
Once the meeting is over, yeah, they can be downloaded.
Okay.
I believe. I mean, I've not done it, but I believe so. And actually, I don't know if it's a part of the recording. I mean,
Just wondering,
yeah.
because I can't see anything, so I was wondering.
Yep, no, so everybody who's messaged in the chat, there, it goes directly to me. Yep. Sorry, there was a lot of chat in the beginning before the meeting started. So one comment is, what is driving people to feel we need a change in property managers? If there are issues, they should be worked through collaboratively. And also, I'm going to just read them if somebody from the board wants to respond. I guess just
Unless it's a question.
yeah. Okay. Are you timing? Okay. The enhancement team did not disband. We were disbanded by the board. One comment says, "Go Liesel, good job." Icon was tied to Lennar. Thank you, Liesel, for explaining. It seems like too much assuming communication. The original approval for 2 formal fundraising events approved over 2 years ago was to include community fundraising projects and not just golf beautification. It seems like this charter reiterates the original approved mandate. It is not right that one group gets to have an informal team when all others were disbanded. It should be a formal committee to help all of the community. And that is it for online comments. So we're going to go to
Stephanie,
folks.
Stephanie,
Yeah.
I have one. I don't know if this was to me. Oh my, no,
Does it say direct message next to it?
it does.
Yeah, then it only went to you.
Okay, so it says, how can you formalize a committee when all committees were disbanded by the board a few years ago?
We weren't a committee, we were a team. We're never called a committee.
I think this person's talking about the new, how can we create a new,
Oh, okay.
I think, all right, I'm pretty confident that's what they're referring to. So I'll actually answer it since they direct messaged me. That's what the board can do, all right? It can create, just like it can disband them. But I did want to go back to whoever made the comment that the board disbanded it. I think we've had the conversation around that, so I think it was answered. That is not what was presented or what was heard. So I think there's a miscommunication there. But that's not, as Neil said, well, there is a message in a meeting, and it seems to be had two different meanings. And I think that got us into this kerfuffle, is my view. That's why I think that the golf beautification team should be the ones that apply for these positions. That's just me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we don't have any more comments online, so we're going to unmute one by one the folks that have their hands raised. So we're going to go in order by how they raised their hand. So just as a reminder, when we unmute you, you will have 3 minutes to speak. And it has to be a board-related topic, please. Okay, so first up we have Robin. So Robin, I'm pressing the button that is asking you to unmute. So, oh, perfect. You got it. Okay, go ahead, Robin.
I got it. Okay. Hi, everybody. I just want to say thank you for all your hard work and everything. But also, I'd like to say this is my first Memorial Day being here in Country Club. Usually I'm back home, and it was a great event. I think the beautification committee did a wonderful job, and the food was excellent. And also having ROTC and our veterans there really made a difference. On a second note, I'd like to try and understand how you can give FSR a 3-year contract after the debacle with all the checks for 5 months. I understand now they finally got the check place deposits, in line, but for 5 months they didn't. So how are you approving a 3-year contract? Instead of just extending it to make sure that things are running smoothly for the next couple of months. And also the plaza, how are people able to charge $10,000, have that much due to us? I thought they were cut off after a certain time. And thank you, Lisa, again for your hard work on everything.
Robin.
Okay, thank you, Robin.
So Stephanie, just correct me, there's nobody that has an outstanding $10,000 plaza balance, correct? The highest one we have is
Correct.
4?
The largest one we have is just over 4,000.
And then Robin, just on your other comments. So again, we have to look at the whole, picture, not just one event. So obviously we're all not happy about the checks. Now, the majority of the checks were deposited in early January. Granted, there were some that carried on, obviously, and then John fixed the 10 that were sort of lost. But again, one event does not create the change or justify, unless it's theft or fraud or something, really significant. In my mind, doesn't create, the only rationale for, a 1 year versus a 3 year, and especially when the 1 year costs us money as well. So that's my view.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to Larry. So Larry, you should be able to unmute now. Here we go. Larry, go ahead.
Thank you. Hey, obviously with FSR maintaining their relationship with us, congratulations to you guys. But one of the biggest problems I have is, what does FSR do to help promote food and beverage spend at both the plaza and the Golf Grill? Every once in a while, you might see a blurb about we're selling pizza down there. We don't push it. We don't promote it. When's the last time somebody promoted, why don't you buy your golf balls at the golf club? Does anybody know you can buy a full set of golf clubs there? How many guys buy golf clubs there? Not many. But we can get them anything they want, So we need to let people know this. It's going to take some marketing to grow that business. And personally, I feel it's kind of weird that the majority of this community doesn't spend any money at these places. Unfortunately for me, either fortunately or unfortunately, sometimes I spend too much, but at the end of the day, I really appreciate having these assets, and I really wish other people would as well. And I know there's people that, they work odd hours, they have kids, but maybe that's something FSR needs to sit down and put a marketing program around. Why are people not coming to the plaza and the golf grill to spend money? We can keep beating a dead horse all we want, but if we don't do anything about it, we're not going to gain any traction. And I guess the last thing I just wanted to bring up was the check thing. It took about 4 months last year to get a check cashed. I will say, to John's benefit, I wrote a check on Sunday, or was it Monday? Sunday or Monday, for $1,200. It was cashed already, but the one I wrote 2.5 weeks ago for $500 has not been cashed. So I think, I appreciate you putting your efforts in to collect the money quickly and put it in the bank, but we really need to get that taken care of. Thank you.
So Larry,
Thank you, Larry.
is he still muted, or did he go back to mute?
He can hear you, yes. If
Okay, so last year, Larry, you used to play a role for the board in working on the plaza and the golf grill for driving business and working with the FSR team on, and the I guess it was James at the time, for the food and beverage. Is that the same type of thing you're talking about tonight? Is that what you're kind of proposing? Can you unmute him?
No, look, my position since, when I was on the turnover committee, was working with the people in there and trying to help them understand what the community wanted and all this sort of thing. My role was not marketing on how to grow the business. Every time I suggested something on how to grow the business, we did make some steps forward, but everything got so freaking convoluted. And not necessarily with FSR. That really wasn't their fault. I haven't spent much time with FSR as I had in the past with the other people. But at the end of the day, we're paying FSR a lot of money. And they're a big company. They're a wonderful company, right? They make a lot of money as a company. Are you telling me they don't have anybody that understands marketing for food and beverage? I mean, that's a little bit weird in my thought process. We could promote that pizza all the way throughout the retreat, right? To the point where you're gonna have to buy a new pizza oven, because as long as we promote it, people will buy it. But I'm not getting paid to do the promoting. Now, I think we're paying these guys a lot of money that maybe they can step to the plate and get it done. If you need me to do it, let me know.
Well, I wasn't asking that. I was just getting clarification of what your ask was.
Well, my ask is for them to provide us with a plan on how they're going to grow the business at those two locations and hold them to it.
Okay.
I think part of the key performance indicators that go hand in hand with the contract, Larry, will help us to measure and to hold them to that, performance. So that's something that we will be looking at implementing as part of this process.
And Neil, if I can add one more thing,
Yep.
I go to the plaza several times a month. I wish I could go more. Sometimes 3, sometimes 4. But anyway, the food up there has been outstanding. I mean, Chef Dan and the team are just doing a kick-ass job up there. Now,
Yep.
The menu, does it get a little tired? Yeah, but at the end of the day, we're a small facility. We got to be careful how we do things. But for what they have and that equipment that they have to deal with, these guys are rock stars. They know how to get it done. And the golf grill's doing what they have to do, and they're okay. Other than the fact that if we could promote things down there to get more people coming in, maybe we become better off.
Yeah, agreed. Thanks, Larry.
Okay.
You bet.
All right. Thank you very much, Larry. Okay, next up, we are going to move to Tom P. Tom P., you should be able to unmute. Go ahead, Tom.
Good evening, everybody. This question, first and foremost, with the FSR contract, I'm happy to see that you're incorporating KPIs into the contract and the fact that they're a living KPI where they are changeable. My question is, how did you come up with the KPIs? Did you talk to people in the community about what's important to them? Or was it a purely a Neil and James decision on what the KPIs or a board decision is one of my questions. The second part of it is with the cost of change and the cost of if you hire an FSR employee, it's going to cost us X percent, which I think your percentages are way too high because I've done these kind of contracts before and they were never near that range. A consideration you may want to think about is if an employee's been on an FSR employee for a period of time, that we're not subject to that change or that cost because they more than got their cost of hiring a person, onboarding them, and training them. Okay, after a period, if you got a 10-year employee, you know they're just making money on you. So my suggestion on that is to consider that as part of the contract negotiations if you can. That's the two points I wanted to bring up.
You want to do this, Neil, or you want me?
Well, I can address the last one. We did ask for services in terms of employees that are currently employed and would still be employed in 3 years' time to be excluded from that clause. But because they conceded on a number of other clauses, they did not concede on that one. So we did ask that question, Tom, and it was rejected.
And Tom, I'll answer the question on, was it just Neil and I on the KPIs? And the answer to that was no. We did have people from the community that did opine and work with us on that. We brought them, those KPIs were then delivered, just the initial part. We're not even finished those yet, to be honest with you. We then brought those to FSR, we worked through those. The revised ones went to the full board for I guess the closed meeting, and the conversation around what those KPIs would look like and how we would start to modify them. We do have a meeting that will be scheduled full board with FSR team, including Amy, the president, of going through what these KPIs would look like, because we do have to work together in coming up with them. So the answer to your question, no, it wasn't just Neil and me, but I appreciate that.
Okay, well, my question there is just to find out who was involved. So evidently there were people, but I haven't seemed to run across anybody that's been involved with this. That's why I raised the question. So it's not in the people that I talk to every day and every week that have been involved with the KPI. So it must have been a very small knit group.
It was relatively small. It was three additional people.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, we do have next in line Dan Metz. Dan, you should be able to unmute. Are you there, Dan? Yep, there you go. All right, go ahead, Dan. You are unmuted, Dan, but we cannot hear you. Okay, we're gonna
Message him, Stephanie.
I'm sorry.
You message him to say we're not hearing him.
Yeah, he unmuted himself, so he.
Maybe his microphone's not working.
Yeah, I'm gonna move on to the next person and I'll direct message him while that's happening. Okay, we're gonna move on to it's labeled Donna's iPad. Donna, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, gotcha.
Perfect.
I'm thinking
Go ahead.
I'm thinking along the same lines as Larry. I kind of agree with what he's saying as far as marketing, and brought it up numerous times and never really went anywhere with it for whatever reason. Not everybody in the community is golfers. I'll do a scramble here and there. But I'd like to see some, they got all the golf t-shirts and golf jackets and all this stuff. How come they don't have anything about Champions Gate Plaza or Champions Gate t-shirts up at the plaza selling that stuff, or how the Oasis and the retreats got cups, refillable cups? Why don't they do anything like that to promote and help bring in more money and advertise Champions Gate when we buy t-shirts or jackets or whatever? That was one thought. Another thought would be, do we really need a lifestyle director during the week? I would think a lifestyle director is more needed. We're closed down on Mondays anyway, so why not have a part-time lifestyle director on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, instead of paying somebody all week long when we're not even open one of those days to begin with? We don't really see them all the time. There's not really a whole lot going on up there. It just seems like that's not something that's needed full time to do something like that. I noticed there's cameras being put around like the North Pool and stuff like that. We didn't know anything about anything like that going on. But it seems like there's no communication with any of the homeowners as far as any of that goes. So just kind of wondering about all that stuff and how that can be arranged and changed and brought to the community's attention.
Just really quick, just to address the cameras. So I don't know if you were at the Golf Grill this morning when I stopped by and spoke to the group of ladies and said that there were cameras now at the North Pool. So I was referring to the cameras that Curtis have installed all over the community, in all of our public areas, so that they can better monitor and do security around the community. So they're not cameras that the association has installed. They're cameras that Curtis installed.
Okay, I thought it was not Curtis. I thought somebody told me that it was not Curtis. It was I don't know who it was supposed to be. That's why he's bringing it up to find out.
No, so we have one camera up there that belongs to the association, and that's just at the entrance, but that's always been in place. As long as I've been here anyway. That's part of SWS's system that they've installed. And then Curtis Protective Services have the additional, they're called TCAMs, so that they've placed in strategic areas around public areas of the community, just to keep a better eye on security after hours.
Is there any?
That's a good idea. So they don't steal our umbrellas or whatever.
Yeah.
One more thought would be, has anybody ever thought about making the plaza more a pool bar? Maybe do dinners in the evening when people are home from work, they're looking for a dinner. But during the day, when there's a lot of kids up there, or you just want a snack, sitting around the pool, having hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff like that, and then doing dinners later on, that might be another way to save money and not have to have so much storage in the fridges and all that they're short of. So that's it. That's all I had.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
Stephanie, I do think there's a point there, though, that we should disseminate where the Curtis cameras are.
Okay.
There is no reason for.
Yeah.
So let's just, I guess, whenever, get that out.
Yep, that's fine.
Good.
Okay, next up, we're gonna try Dan Metz again. He's the only one left. Dan, you should be able to unmute now. There we
Okay.
go.
Can you hear
There
me?
we go. Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I was listening to the total meeting when I was coming into Lorton, Virginia. I was on my wife's cell phone, and now I'm in a hotel room. But the thing is that I'm very happy to see that First Services was approved for 3 years. And as you know, that I was a candidate from last year running for the board. And if you remember, my background was that I was formerly the vice president and treasurer of the Waterstone HOA, which is located roughly about 2.5 miles away from Champions Gate, up off 27. A lot of the things that are going on, we went through, okay? But when I came over to Champions Gate, it was with the idea that, yes, I would still be part of the service end of it. Some of the things we did make that evil mistake of switching our management company. And it was by dumb luck that it happened, but it created more problems than I could ever think of. For 6 months, it created trying to get our paperwork together, trying to get stuff going from the other company into the new company that we're dealing with. It also created problems with our billing and people that were paying their HOA or their HOA fees. This didn't straighten out for a long period of time. To just make a switch with companies, I would say one of the key things I did notice over the past was that if you have a good reserve in your HOA, it's a proven fact you're working with the right management company. Okay, and that's something because we started out with zero with the management company we had, and then through the next 4 years of working with another company, after interviewing some other companies, we managed to walk away with a good reserve of $121,000, and our communities roughly was 10% of what Champions Gate is. So I applaud not making switches that quick. If people have a problem with people at FS or First Services, I recommend that you work very close, go talk to them. And please, if you ever had the opportunity to take a CAM course online or get more involved, you would find out what CAMs really do. And it's not just not having a meeting here. It's not just, being around at everyone's beck and word, but the CAM is dealing with accounts receivables, dealing with people that a lot of problems throughout the new vendors, making the best contract, looking to make sure that the contracts are being followed. I have dealt with some good CAMs in the past, and I've dealt with bad. And believe me, from what I see, and I have met Stephanie once or twice, not formally, but I see a very strong person here. Maybe we have personality clashes that go on. As far as lifestyle, as the last person talked about with lifestyle, with making it part-time, I disagree with that totally. Now, I've been here roughly a whole year now, and I see what I see.
Dan, I am so sorry. We have reached the 3-minute mark.
Okay, well, again, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Dan.
All right.
Is that it, Steph?
Okay, yes, the only other comment that we have online is if bingo is making money, why aren't we having it more times a month? That is something that we can definitely look at, I would say. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where if you do something too many times, people stop showing up. So you got to find like that sweet balance. So I know right now we are doing it twice a month, which seems to work. We can try to increase that and see if it continues to bring the crowds that it does when we do it twice a month. So that's definitely something that we can pass on to Mitch to look into.
Can I talk about that for a second? Because I did talk to Mitch about this. All right. Am I on mute? No. So the other thing that we did with bingo is we ran the numbers of how much we're getting in terms of food and beverage sales at the plaza. And we did notice that there is a good correlation there. More bit as bingo, especially as the jackpot goes up, the amount of revenue that comes into the food and beverage. So we have asked, or I asked Mitch to go back and take a look at, could we increase the frequency and how do we get the pot to be a bit higher? Because I believe my understanding is how this all works is it starts at 150 and then it just increases in increments. But once you get over that 230, 240, people start to get real interested in it. So I don't know who made that comment, but yes, that is a valid observation. And there is something to it.
Okay.
Any other comments, Stephanie?
Nope, that is it. Everything online has been addressed and, or in the comments, and we have no more hands raised, so we are all set.
Excellent. So the last item is, I need a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion.
Anyone to second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, guys, have a good day. Stay
Have a
dry.
good night.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.